Hey crafty friends, this is Anat Kessler with Saturday Extravaganza. Thank you very much for joining me for this video tutorial. And today I'm creating an art journal page, a mixed media art journal page. And I'm going to start with this 1-inch faux quilting stamps by Ann Butler. And I'm just going to stamp the page in put these stamps in a row with the black ink. Now this page today is, by the way, whatever ink you have left over on your stamp, it's always good to just stamp another page in your art journal and someday maybe create something out of it. So this is the next set of stamps that I'm using. Now the third set is going to be slightly diagonal. And we're going to create a really special mixed media art journal page today that is going to be gradual. It's going to have a gradual effect. You're going to see it as we go along. So this one has a sort of an arch, and the last set of small 1-inch stamps are going to be a really swirly kind of stamping. So I have here a black pen and I'm starting to doodle on my page. Now the first line is relatively straight and has nothing really special about it. The next line is kind of a little bit more special because it has more volume to it. It's thicker in some places. Third line has an addition of little swirls and it's starting to have a little bit more interest. The next one is really funky and swirly, and I think you can start to have an idea of the logic or the meaning behind this page. So I'm just thickening the lines, and the next one is really fun and funky and kind of crazy. So I'm just adding more thickness to the lines with my black pen, and I'm going to doodle inside those areas where there is enough room to add a pattern. And I'm adding stripes and circles and swirls inside that space there. Now you can see that we're going from left to right, and the more right we go, the more creative, funky, fun, and later colorful the page is going to get. And that's the theme for the art journal that I'm creating today. And I'll show you how to do it. So I'm adding more doodling, circles and swirls, adding pattern inside the circles too. And I'm gonna add some color now. Whatever we have now is going to be in the background, all the doodling and the stamping. So I'm gonna start with some gesso, and I'm mixing it with a little bit of water because I want it to be like a wash, not very white but more transparent. So I'm going to use the gesso basically as a white paint and cover that left side, the left column of the stamps that I created. I'm going to cover it with a gesso wash, and that makes it really go into the background and be very muted and very boring. Next I have a water brush that I'm dipping into some pigment ink that I stamped directly on my craft sheet with the ink pad. And I'm going to color the next section with this yellow paint. I'm going to color from the left line to the right line. That's going to be the second section that I have. And after finishing to paint it with the yellow, I'm covering it with gesso because I want it not to be too bright and vibrant yellow. I just want it to be very dull and almost with no color to it, just a hint of yellow. So for our of course you have to dry it every now and again. For our next color, we're going to use green, and with the same technique of using the water brush to dilute the ink and sort of create a watercolor. This is what we are doing. We're creating a watercolor from the water mixing with the ink. So I'm going to color the entire section here with the green ink, and as you can see now I'm leaving the color vibrant and bright and pretty. So just color it, and if you don't have a water brush, you can use just a regular brush and make sure it's wet all the time, because we want that watercolor effect to be on our page. So I'm only going to cover the left side of this section with a little bit of gesso, just to add to that gradual effect that is going from the left side toward the right. So here the color is starting to come out from that layer of gesso, and it's gonna shine through the gesso. So only a little bit of gesso, and then we get that green color bursting through that gesso. So that's the logic behind what I'm doing. That's the vision of this page. And by the way, you don't always need to have a vision for an art journal page, but for this one I do. So our next color is orange. Again, I'm watering it with my water brush, and look at that vibrant, strong, bright color that is now going into the art journal page. And isn't that pretty? Love this. So I'm also coloring over some of the stamps. Again, remember we said this is going to be the background. And also in some of the doodling, that I did before, add a little bit more color to them, make them nicer and brighter. Next, I'm going to use some purple. I usually don't like to use purple, but here it's really, I want to keep things so colorful and bright and happy, so I want to use as many colors as I can. So I'm adding the purple to my last, but this is one before last section, and coloring the page. And I've also colored one of the squares of the stamps, and I'm going to color a few more later on. And using that water brush with the ink really creates that beautiful watercolor effect, and I really like that. You can do it with markers, you can do it with acrylic paint, but I wanted that transparent watercolor effect. Now I'm going to use some teal, the same technique, bring in that color also. And I'm not going to color the entire section, because now I want to mix some colors and make it really pop, make it really colorful. Also, I've colored a few of those squares. And finally, that magenta hot pink color that is going to go on the other side of the last section here that I have, and it's going to mix, it's going to meet that teal on the other end. It's going to be really pretty. So I'm coloring. Look at that vibrant, strong, beautiful pink. And I'm adding it also here and there. Now I'm going to bring back some green, and I'm basically adding more and more color to that right bottom corner of my page, because I want that to be the most colorful area of my page. So I'm just adding all the colors that I've used before and mixing them together and creating that watercolor effect where they mix together and create sort of a cloud of colors Isn't that pretty? Look at all the colors blending together, bursting from that side of the page. Now I'm also adding colors to the squares, but unlike the blending colors on the right, the squares are still in order, still in a row, still too organized. And that right corner on the bottom, that is where the magic happens. That is where all the colors and everything is going to be really bursting and really be very creative. Now I'm gonna do some stenciling. This is a really thick sandy consistency modeling paste. I like it because it dries fast and it has almost no liquids in it, so nothing can run under the stencil, and the images, whatever you stencil, the pattern becomes really crisp. So for the first section, I'm gonna just add stars in a row, white boring stars in a row. And for the second section, I'm going to mix a little bit of my modeling paste with the ink, and that will give me a yellow modeling paste. Did you know that you can add color to your modeling paste and then just have it in any color that you want? So for this section, again, my stars are going to be in a row, but they are going to have a little tiny bit of color. And for the third section, of course, I'm going to mix my modeling paste with some green. And here, stars are not going to be in a row so much, because I want to describe a process going from the left side of my page to the right. And the process is, on the left side, you get your boring, organized, structural way of thinking or creating or viewing the world. And on the right side, look at how much fun is on the right side. So many colors, creativity, freedom. That's the point of this page. So I'm adding the modeling paste with my finger. That gives me much more control of exactly where it goes, because I want only a few stars here and there going in sort of a curve. So I want to control exactly where my paste is going. See? Very curvy line of the stars. Now for the next stenciling, I'm going to use all the colors, and I'm going to mix the modeling paste with all the colors and just randomly add stars to my page and have it so creative and fun and free. No rules, no patterns, no lines, no structure, just art and fun. So I'm adding stars here and there with the different modeling paste colors I created with the ink, and it's very fun creating modeling paste like that. And I'm just adding the stars randomly here and there. Using a palette knife, you can use your fingers at this point too, but I need the palette knife to mix the colors anyway with the modeling paste. Just be careful when you just randomly stencil like that not to ruin whatever pattern or whatever stencil you put there before. So don't squish any of the stars that are already on the paper, on the page. So I'm going to dry everything, and I'm going to go in with my black pen and add some more doodling, basically framing the stars with my black pen, adding even more fun to those stars, making them pop out more. And a little bit of dots here and there on the stars. And you can already see the difference between the left side of the page and the right side of the page. Isn't that pretty? So I'm definitely a person that belongs on the right side. Where are you? Right, left, middle? So I have here another stencil, and with my dauber and some black ink, I'm just gonna add a little bit of wavy pattern here. And I'm also going to use the dauber, a different one, to stamp. So I have here yellow circles, very easy to stamp with daubers because they already have a circle shape. So all you need to do is just stamp with them. It's really fun. And I also thought about a really cool idea to stamp with the other side of the dauber, which will give you a circle, an empty circle, not a full circle, when you use the sponge on the front. So you can use both sides of the dauber as a stamp. Isn't that cool? I like this idea. So stamping with the dauber, and now I just want to add a little bit more stamping, but I just want it to be on the bottom, so I'm protecting the other part of the page with a little paper. Just adding randomly more stamps, more shapes, more colors, and a little bit more with my water brush, just a little bit of drippage going on there with the green color. And I'm gonna do the same with the orange color, just creating those little tiny dots on the background. It's fun. Splatter like this. And now I'm ready to add my sentence that will tie everything together. And that will be the final step that we need to make. So the sentence reads, "Set your creativity free." And that is the process of doing that, going from left to right, going from boring, no color, structural thinking or imagination to the right side of the page, which is absolutely creative, free, full of imagination, colors, shapes, and fun. So that's my page. So I'm just gonna write it with the black pen and make it nice and bold. And now I'm gonna go over them, or actually add a little bit of white line to each letter so it will be more visible. And that white pen was not thick enough, so I'm just using another one. This is actually a white marker that you use to fix something when you're writing and you want to fix something, so you go over that with the white pen. So you can get that in any office supply store. And I'm just correcting some of the letters with the black pen. And basically I just want to add one more thing to the word, just a little bit of white marker doodling first, and then I just want to add to the word creativity a little bit of tiny embellishments, because that's the middle of the process, is where the creativity starts to awaken and it starts to burst and shine through. It's not quite there, but it's not on the left side either, so just add a little tiny bit to it. And I think that this page is done. I'm just drying everything with the heat tool. And I really like this page. I hope that you like it too. I hope that you were inspired and that you will share your creative process and your imagination and your creativity either with yourself on an art journal page or with everybody else. So I want to thank everyone for joining me today. I had a lot of fun. See you all next time.